What makes a nerd? Is it the knowledge in his head? Is it his pocket protector? Don't worry, I'm not going to sing. I can't sing that well. Don't worry about it. Anyways, so that's what I want to talk about right now. Is nerddom. What is a nerd? I mean, years ago, it used to just be either you were smart, maybe you were a geek, and if you're into like sci-fi, like Star Trek, Star Wars, or comic books, you were a nerd. Or you could also be a dweeb, or I guess a nerd or a geek, if you were into like computer things. Doesn't work anymore now, does it? I mean, let's work backwards here. Who doesn't own a computer nowadays in America? Unless you're like poor, you probably don't have a computer. Also, basically everybody uses the computer for watching videos like this, or they use it for entertainment, for schoolwork, whatever. I mean, it's a the tool that can be used for it's a multi-tool basically that we all use basically every day. As for comic books, what are the movies that people were looking forward to the most this year? Think about it. Batman v Superman, Deadpool, Captain America Civil War, and Suicide Squad. Also, after last month, we're now in August, after last month, what were the movie people were really wanting to see? Justice League and Wonder Woman. Those are the movies that a lot of people were like, yeah, I want to see that. Or maybe Doctor Strange. Again, another comic book movie. With all these comic book movies getting people now into different comics they probably wouldn't have read before, it doesn't really make someone a geek or a nerd now, does it? As for intelligence, well, that's just ridiculous. Being smart doesn't make you a bad person. I mean, a lot of people are smart at various things. Someone can be very book smart on a certain subject, but they don't know how to use it. And somebody could be really smart at applying a certain technique or even working with their hands, but they're not the best when it comes to like taking a test. So, what is a nerd? What is a geek? Especially nowadays. I mean, think about this. People think, oh, they're jocks because they're into sports, they're into football, baseball, basketball, hockey, rugby, soccer, all this other stuff. But, think about it. We all know those people. I know a lot of people in my own family that are football nerds, baseball nerds, hockey nerds, soccer nerds. They know so much about what it is that they are really a big fan of. Fandom becomes nerddom, and has become nerddom in a sense, because when you know every little facet about, let's say, football. I like football. If you know every little facet about football, I mean, you watch the NFL Network, you watch all these games every Sunday during the season. And during the off season, you're looking at who's getting traded, what's the draft going to look like, what's the schedule going to be. That's basically what some people do with comic books or movies. They analyze and they evaluate, look at all these little things, like where did this writer get wrong? What did they do here? How can they change this? And it's basically the same now. I mean, movies, sports, comic books, wrestling. We're all nerds about something, aren't we? Think about it. Me personally, I mean, I could consider myself a wrestling nerd. I know a lot about wrestling. I'm not a wrestler, but I like pro wrestling. I watched it for decades. I mean, I know a lot of the stuff, the history that went on, but I don't like, and I don't want to know the behind the scenes stuff. I don't want to know about what rumors are going on here, who doesn't like who backstage, and who's being punished for this and that, and all this other BS. I don't care about that. But when it comes to what we're shown on TV and what we watch on pay-per-view, yeah, I like that. I learn everything I can about the history of what's going on the screen. I mean, I like that. So in that sense, I'm a wrestling nerd. I mean, it's all about fandom and the degrees of fandom, I guess. You have so many different things to know about now. And especially in this day and age when you have the NFL network, the NBA network, the MLB network, NHL network, WWE network, Netflix gives you a whole bunch of movies. You can, if you're into just one genre of movies, you can just watch that genre until you die, basically. Or you can watch Hulu or any sort of video streaming services where you can watch different TV shows. Or even anime if you're into that. I mean, and I did my top favorite anime too. But I think it's just, we are in a world now where being a nerd or a geek has no more value to saying somebody's a jock. Just my opinion. Yeah, I know, another one of these commentary videos. I don't know if people like these or not, but I just want to get this off my chest. As far as being a nerd, being a geek, whatever, if you're really into something, be proud and say, I am a blank nerd. Look at this newscaster I really like, Keith Olbermann. He's a baseball nerd. I mean, he has baseball cards from the 1800s. And he knows all these little facets about baseball history and stuff like that. It's kind of admirable to have that sort of history known. But yeah, he fully admits to being a baseball nerd. So my question now is, what kind of nerd are you? What is it that you have such a strong fandom for that you could really genuinely see yourself as a nerd in that category? Me? I don't know. Might be wrestling. Probably is wrestling. Though I am a fan of movies, I'm also a big fan of wrestling too. Who knows? That's a question I ask myself sometimes. What kind of nerd am I? So, what kind of nerd are you? Let me know in the comments. So, I'll come out with another video sometime later this week. Probably Saturday. Until then, later.